All right, welcome everybody. I'm Greg Grantham. I'm from North Carolina, but I'm the treasurer of the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, and we're obviously tickled to death to be joined tonight by Paul Biancardi. But let me introduce. We've got Dan Young from Michigan. He's one of our former presidents, a board member. Nalin Sood from the state of Washington. He's a former president, and he's our current secretary. Alan Whitehart from Georgia is our current president. Joe Harris is from the state of Washington, and he's a very important member. And I am now going to let Dave Archer, our current executive director, he's from the state of New York, say a few words about the NHSBCA.
The NHSBCA represents all 50 states and to various degrees. What we did was band together. It's an organization of organizations. We band together to be able to have a stronger voice nationwide to the value of scholastic basketball or education-based basketball and the tremendous value that high school coaches can have on their players. One of the things that we wanted to do was to educate ourselves first, players, high school players, and their parents. And I can't think of anybody better to get us started down that road than Paul Biancardi, who's going to handle some of the questions now. So I'd say we'll get started. And Alan, you as our current president can be the first question.
Great. Thanks for being on, Paul.
Before we do that, Dave, can I introduce Paul Biancardi from ESPN? And Paul, if you want to say a few words about who you are and what makes you an ideal person to speak on recruiting and the recruiting landscape.
Well, first of all, guys, thank you so much for having me, all of you. Most of you I know, and others I want to look forward to getting to know you guys better. And I think this is a great platform to give the right, real, and relevant information when it comes to high school basketball and, of course, recruiting. My background in the game is pretty unique, pretty deep. I started out as a walk-on at Division III, and I got cut. So right off the bat, life wasn't good, right? A cut walk-on at Division III, life doesn't get any worse. But I eventually made the team after a few tries, and the head coach was Tom Thibodeau, who we all know, now the head coach of the Knicks. Went on to coach Division III ball, and then went to Division I as a volunteer assistant, and then to a graduate assistant at Boston College in the Big East. I got promoted, spent 7 years in the Big East, 6 years in the Big Ten after that at Ohio State, became the head coach at Wright State, and then an assistant coach at St. Louis University. So that coaching span was over 20 years. And currently, and for the last 15 years, I've been the director of recruiting for ESPN. And what does that mean? I've had the opportunity to go out and see the nation's best players every summer, every school year, and I evaluate them as players and people, grade them, and then rank them nationally. And I do that in the senior class, the junior class, sophomore class. As all of you know, especially Alan, we televise high school games for the last 10, 12 years. And I also do games for our ACC network and college basketball and NBA draft. So I've got a lot of background in the game. I don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody does in today's climate. But what I do have, hopefully, is a lot of experience and perspective.
Well, you certainly have a lot of knowledge and about the game and about recruiting, and we're so appreciative of you being with us tonight, Paul. So, Alan, our current president from Georgia, we're going to let you kick it off with the first question.
Paul, thanks for being with us. I'm not going to call you Paul. I'm going to call you Coach because you've definitely earned that right. So thanks for spending time with us this evening. My first question is, given the changes related to NIL, transfer portal, now 15 scholarships at the D1 level, what does the recruiting landscape look like for today's high school player moving forward?
Well, that's right off the bat, that's a lot to address, but we're going to hit it and hit it collectively. From my standpoint, I dug into some numbers, and this is what I think the parents need to understand, the players, and all the high school coaches who deal with recruiting. There's over 500,000 kids that play high school basketball, more or less. Those are the most recent numbers. And of those 500,000 high school basketball players, approximately 100,000 to 120,000 are seniors every year. And from that group, 5 to 7% go on to play college basketball. And when I say college basketball, Alan, junior college, Division III, NAIA, Division II, and Division I. So it's only 5 to 7% of that entire class moves on. 1% of the senior class plays Division I basketball. And with the portal being what it is, that 1% is probably a little bit lower right now. So the first thing I want to emphasize is how hard it is to play college basketball, how competitive it is. And to get there, you have to work at it, 10, 11 months out of the year. And you can't get there on social media. You can't get there through highlights. You have to get there by being in the gym and being in the gym with the right coaches, the right teammates, and obviously the right type of training staff. So that's the first thing. You can't manipulate your way in. You can't buy your way in. A lot of parents think there's ways to get into the recruiting process. There really isn't. You have to get good to get recruited. And we'll get into that a little bit more down the road. Next thing is the NIL. NIL right now, and you guys can correct me because you're on the board, I believe 40 states in high school basketball right now allow NIL, which is name, image, and likeness for the high school player. And, it's prevalent in college basketball, and it is in high school basketball. Then the portal. The portal. Right now, there's 1,000 kids that decided to leave their college program. And this one really blew me away. I don't want to say the name, but somebody went in the portal today who averages 20 points a game at a pretty high level. I can't imagine where he wants to go, but I know the advice that these kids get. Why do people go in the portal? Some players are unhappy with their playing time. I think as coaches, we all can understand that. And maybe they don't have a good relationship with their coach, and there's a reason to leave. Others go in the portal because it's driven by agents. Agents control recruiting today. And I don't think that's anything we have to shy away from. I think it's something we have to talk about a little bit more. They tell the players at the college level to go in the portal. And when they do so, they're looking for financial gains and hopefully a better opportunity for that player. And at the high school level, I see a lot of kids, having opportunities through, different products, different, businesses. And I think it's great, but the education on the NIL is non-existent. At the college level, there's very little. And you guys could tell me what's the education for the student athlete at the high school level with NIL, because they're getting money, they're going to get taxed on it. How does it distract them from their academics? How does it distract them from being a good teammate, going to practice, and all the things that, you try to be together as a team. And sometimes NIL can take the player away from the team. So there's a lot going on in the high school landscape right now. And I'd like to throw it back to you, Alan, for a quick answer on, the NIL and the high school landscape. Has it affected your program at all?
My program particularly, we had one kid. His parents were connected with Nike and Starbucks. He did get a NIL deal, very minimal, but the craziest part is he was a freshman. So yeah, it's not about his abilities yet. So I mean, it really hasn't came into play to the point that it affects who we are and what we are.
Yeah, and name, image, and likeness for everyone watching is you're supposed to be getting compensated based on your name in basketball. People using your likeness, your picture, your photographs, your video, and likeness as well. So there's a way that agents are now infiltrating to the high school level. But there are some programs out there. I do know one program that if you're looking for education in NIL, I would go to Clean Connect, and it's clean with a CLEAN and then connect with a K. And they do a fabulous job of educating colleges, the high school athletes, everyone in the NIL space, from the businesses to the players. And I think that's something that obviously more and more we need to educate the players and the parents, because I think a lot of people think it's, well, we're going to get paid because we're a good player, and we're going to keep looking for more opportunities, which is great. But sometimes those opportunities, I've seen it too much, take away from the player's game and their grades. And sometimes it takes them away from their team. I tell everyone who will listen, I don't think you have a brand in high school. There may be one or two, maybe 5 guys that have a true social media brand, but your game is your brand. So make sure that your game is always on point. When your game suffers, your brand will suffer, your team will suffer, and you will suffer. So I think kids and parents have it a little bit distorted right now because a lot of money is coming their way, which is great. We're all for it, all of us. But you have to understand why you're getting paid. And there's an obligation to continue to keep your game up, but also be the teammate that you want to have and help your team win. I think they all work together.
Before we move away from that topic, Paul, I just want to throw a follow-up. I'm asking you, look in your crystal ball. Do you anticipate, at least in the near future, any of that landscape involving NIL, transfer portal, changing much in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, Greg, if I had that answer, I'd be on a plane to Vegas right now. And I would take all you guys with me.
Understand. Completely understand.
I don't think there'll ever be a limit on NIL because of antitrust lawsuits. In other words, I don't think there'll be a cap amount. The only way you could cap it is if you had a collective bargaining agreement, and I don't think colleges are going that way. What I do think is going to happen at the collegiate level, and it could go down to the high school level, is there are going to be contracts, and it'll be as early as this spring. And it's basically an independent contractor. That's what these kids are going to turn into with the university. They'll sign a contract based on how long they're going to be there, how much they're going to get. There'll be buyouts involved. So if a player leaves the school, early, he has to pay that school some compensation. So that school can use funds to recruit the next player. So I think that's going to come in, and the contracts can be 1 year, 2 year, maybe even up to 3 years. And they'll have different clauses in terms of health and minimum game requirements, somewhat like the NBA. But I don't have all the details of that, but I've been on conference calls that have told me the model is going to go in that direction. And with the portal, I hope they move the starting date in the spring after the Final Four. It opened a couple of days ago, and I just don't think it's great for the 16 teams that are playing. I think that we should all wait until the season's over, and I'll tell you why. When kids go in the portal, maybe 5% really know where they want to go. The other 95%, they're looking to see what else is out there. They're shopping. So to wait 1 more week to find out who likes you and maybe who you want to start talking to, speed, portal, dating, everyone can wait another week. And I think it gives clarity to the college coaches that have finished already. They can start to kind of plan and have meetings with their players. But for the teams that are playing, those kids, we don't want them thinking about going in the portal. And we don't want coaches, and you heard Tom Izzo, I'm sure, just the other day, not thinking about who's in the portal. So wait till Tuesday after the Final Four, open it up, keep it open until May 1st. And then, kids can have maybe until June or July 1 to make their final decision. Then by July 1st, I think all teams, should be set, rosters already constructed, unless, of course, maybe a coach leaves after that. So those are the 2 things that I see happening. And remember this for everybody on the call. 5 years ago or 4 years ago, we had COVID. The portal came out right after. NIL came. I mean, the game was hit hard in 3 different directions because COVID had COVID eligibility. So everybody who played college basketball during that time got an extra year or 2 of COVID eligibility. Then the portal came in. Then NIL came in. So it hit college basketball really between the eyes at the same time. Greg, it will smooth out, but I think it's probably in that 2 to 3 year period. But the portal, I don't see it changing except for the open and close window dates.
Coach, question on top of that. I mean, really, if you think about the teams that are at home right now, they probably need to be recruiting their own kids to stay rather than jumping out in the portal trying to get new kids. I mean, with the way it's happening, a lot of coaches are losing out on players within their own roster currently, which I think is a bigger problem, and there's something that's got to be done.
You're exactly right, Alan. It's retain and then recruit.
Mhm.
We appreciate your insights on that topic, Paul. Nalin, you're up.
Yeah.
Question for Paul.
So, Paul, I'm sure you've never had this question before, and I say that facetiously, but you see a lot of not only 3, but 4 and 5-star recruits. And they probably get recruited organically. They're going to get a great opportunity. But for so to speak, the young Paul Biancardi, who's wanting to get a college scholarship, and the other 97% that play, what do you say to them about how to get recruited? Now, it's like a kid that would ask us when we're coaching, Coach, how do I play more? Well, get better. And you just mentioned get good. How could you capture that a little bit more in terms of how do I get my kid recruited?
Well, first of all, as a high school coach, I think it's a little different today than years ago. Certainly, when I played, but that's too long ago. But even in the last 10 years, high school coaches have to do a better job of having a plan for their players that really want to play in college. They can't just rely on their connections of knowing people, meaning the coach. They can't just say you got to get better, because that's a very vague topic. Kids today and parents today, they want specific plans on how to get there. And then the onus, happens to fall onto the player as well as the parents a little bit. But what I say for all players is this: don't fall for the word exposure. It's a word that I don't believe in. I don't use it. And too many people think that it's a quick fix to get somewhere. Why do I say that? Because a lot of kids play in events with the word exposure. And that means they think someone's going to discover them, right? Someone's going to see them and offer them a scholarship. It really doesn't work that way, because when you play well somewhere for the weekend, that just means you have to go in the gym and keep working on your game, right? Improve on the things you're good at and continue to try to help your weaknesses, and then play good the next weekend and the next weekend after that. We all know if you have one great game, you still could lose the next 19 games and be 1-20. So having one great game doesn't mean a lot. As college coaches, they want consistency. They want to see what you're like over the long term. So the first thing I would say for every player is make sure that you're dedicated to the game and play your high school, help your team win. I don't care if it's your high school team. I don't care if it's your camp team. I don't care if it's your AAU team. College coaches get paid to win games. They're recruiting kids that have a winning background. They understand the skill level and the talent level. They can see the physical measurables, but what they're looking for below the surface is what I look for. How do you make your team win? How do you impact the game? And to do that, you just can't play AAU. I'm a big believer in camps, teaching camps. I'm part of the Jay Billis camp. We do that every June up at Davidson. It's 3 full days and 2 nights. Any camp you can find, a day camp, an overnight camp, to help yourself get drilled in the game, get real feedback from coaches who live it, like coaches like yourselves, guys who live this, do it for a living. That's the type of coaching you want to get in the off season. And then you got to get in the gym on your own. Trainers are a big topic of conversation. We could spend hours talking about trainers. If a trainer cannot teach a player how to read the game and how to move without the ball, I don't care what they teach with the ball in their hands. That player is not going to use that specific, shot, or we'll say move, probably more than 5 or 10% of the time. So find a trainer, a high school coach that can really help you enhance your game by teaching you the game and giving you feedback on what you need to do. And players and parents need to understand there's no quick fix to recruiting. The 5-star guys are going to get recruited. The 4-star guys are going to get recruited. But what I've noticed is this: some of these 3-star players and 2-star guys, they're all Division I. They don't even sometimes get recruited till very late. Everyone's getting recruited because of the portal at a little bit lower level. So if you're a mid-major player, you may get a lower level Division I scholarship. And if you're a Division I player at the lower level, you may have to go to Division II, and Division II may have to go to Division III. It's not about levels. It's about fit and opportunity. because you had the right and the openness to transfer if you want after that year. So go with his fit, go with his opportunity, go where you trust the coaching staff. Don't go somewhere because it's the highest level. That's the reason we have so many transfers. And don't go somewhere because somebody else told you to go there. And those are the two biggest mistakes that kids make.
Great
Yeah, I
stuff,
like what you
Paul.
said about the exposure camp, Paul, because what I've also found out is sometimes, kids go somewhere for exposure and instead they get exposed for
Yeah,
what they're not instead of what they are.
Let me tell you a 30-second story. I'm at a prestigious, high-level grassroots event, and an AAU coach who's a really good friend of mine asked me to watch this player, who I've seen before, but he wants me to watch him again. And I told him I was going to another court. So we talked a little bit. I ended up staying for that coach. I watched that kid play. He was awful. Worst game I've seen him play. So I turned to the coach after the game. I said, okay, you got your exposure. He's not that good. And the coach just froze and he goes, no. He's better than that. He just didn't play well. I said, well, I just saw him. You were looking for exposure. You just got bad exposure.
Yeah.
So it's not about a one-time hit. It's a constant continuity of playing. And I believe this. Someone's always talking and someone's always listening to somebody about who plays well. So don't get caught up into one game, one weekend, one club team. You play well in the summer and then you don't play well for your high school coach. College coach is going to ask why. They're going to dig deep into the character and to the traits of a recruit. There's too much money invested. This is their jobs. This is their livelihood. So they're going to get it right with the character traits and the basketball.
Yep, good advice. Dan, you got a question for Paul?
I just think about the parents in recruitment of their players, their own kids, and just not being, just all the things you're talking about is the kind of stuff that we need to get out. And for a parent, this is exactly what they need to hear, is that getting better through your high school coach, through your club coach, maybe through a trainer. I love the idea about the trainer not just being ball handling and shooting in one player. That is a real problem. So to get that out there, that it's about learning how to play the game off the ball as well as on the ball, and within a 5-minute, that hit it right on the nose for me, because we see it all the time. The workout wonders. He's the best 8th grader coming up, and then can't play as a team, struggles, dominates the ball, sticks when he has it. So talk a little bit about how we can help parents with that like individual me type of attitude that is just so prevalent right now.
I'm going to hit that in 30 seconds. I'll give everyone the best drill in the world to do. For all the kids at home, play one-on-one. Limit yourself to 3 dribbles. It will teach you how to jab step, shot fake, and drive the ball. It'll teach you how to guard the ball one-on-one. There's no greater trainer than playing one-on-one in the gym, and it costs nothing. Play against guys older than you. Play against guys quicker than you. Play against guys, stronger than you. Play against anybody. That's how you get better. That will help you with your one-on-one jab steps, shot fakes, drive game, finishing game, whatever you want to call it, and it will help your one-on-one defense. Number 1. Number 2, if there's any coaches out there or trainers listening, play 3-on-3, no dribbles. I do that at my basketball camp. I teach cutting. I teach screening, basic as it is, but I teach them how to move it out the ball. A 1-on-0, 2-on-0, 3-on-0 situation, it's okay for a few minutes, but where in the game do you play with no defense? Everybody used to joke about the cones, right? Cones don't move. I worked for the late, great Rick Majerus, who Joe Harris and I always talk about on social media a little bit. Yeah, the best. Like, cones don't move. Couldn't bring a cone into practice. Couldn't bring a chair into practice. We went 5-on-0, 3-on-0, fine. Or we went, with live defense. So that's really important. So for the parents, look, anybody who has children absolutely loves their children and they want the best for them. I see it every day. I hear it. I read it. through my text messages that I didn't ask for and my emails that I didn't ask for either. But here's the thing. If you're a parent of an athlete, the best thing you can do is support your child in the endeavor that they want, not the one that you want. You got to be supportive. You can't be obsessive. The player has to be obsessive. I was obsessed about playing college ball. My mother had no idea what I was trying to accomplish. And at that time, my sister didn't know much about sports, but I was the one who was obsessed. If the parent's more obsessed than the player, it's not going to work. I think all of our jobs as parents, whatever our kids want to do and be, our job is to raise 5-star people, right? To teach that humility, to emphasize humility, to emphasize respect for your teammates, for your coaches, for your opponent, for the officials, to emphasize dedication, commitment. When my girls played soccer, the first thing they would say after a month is, I don't like my team. Well, you decide to play soccer, you're going to finish the season out, and you're going to learn how to function with the teammates that you don't like, or maybe the coach that you don't get along with. So these are the things as parents we have to teach our kids, and then let the players go through the process of tryouts, of workouts. Yeah, drive them there, feed them, buy all the equipment. That's what we do. We're super Ubers, right? We drive our kids everywhere, and then we buy them the best equipment that we can. But that's it. Parents should not be coaching the kids on the way to practice, and certainly not be drilling the kids on the way home. I had a prominent high school coach tell me one time he couldn't get through to his best high school player. And this kid was a top 25 recruit, went to a Power 4 school. And he said, I couldn't get through to my player, and I couldn't understand why. And then he found out that after every game, the kid's father would drive him home and just berate the kid on what he didn't do right. So what happened was he's listening to the father and doing what the father said versus what the high school coach would say. Because the high school coach says, you never listen to me. And then the kid would say, Coach, if I don't listen to you, you sit me on the bench. If I don't listen to my dad, he's going to yell at me the whole way home. That's the pressure these kids are under today by some parents. And it's awful.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah. Can I follow up with just a quick question on
Yeah,
that?
go ahead, Joe.
Coach, where do you see then kids developing that love of the game? I know we've talked a lot about X and O and skill development, but where does that love of the game fit in?
Where does it fit in, or where does it come from?
Well, both. I know where it came from in our family.
Well,
and
shed
all of us,
some light on that,
we have a
because
love for the
obviously
game.
your son and you, iconic people in the game. So where did the love come from for the Harrises?
At home. And, with all of us, it was something that we talked about, very similar to what you just said about your own daughter playing soccer, that, hey, sometimes you have to put your nose to the grindstone and fight through things that you may not like, but I'm not going to hound you on the way home. If I'm coaching Joe as a freshman, we rode home from practice every day. I never took it home. Did we ever watch film at home? Only if he wanted to. I watched film a lot, but I didn't bring him in there to have him watch film. He had a love for the game. Our daughters had a love for the game. I had a daughter that played Division I volleyball and a daughter that played D3 and D2 basketball. And to this day, they still have great memories of their contests, their friendships with their teammates, their coaches. All of that stuff goes back to that, developing that love of the game.
Well, I'll speak from my own experience, and I'll tell you two real quick things. My youngest daughter was playing soccer, as I mentioned, and she was on her computer as a sophomore. We had the computer in the kitchen, so we see everything she's watching. So practice was 2 hours away, and I was going to take her to practice. And I caught her on Max Preps for women's soccer, girls soccer. And I said, what are you doing? You're supposed to be doing your homework. She says, I want to see which players in the state are ranked in soccer. I said, your job right now is to get your equipment together, get your hydration drinks together, right? Get your warm-up ready, stretch out, and then get in the car and go and have a great attitude and play with great effort. That's all I've ever said to my daughters when they play sports. You have the best attitude and the best effort. I say the same thing every time I drop them off. Never said anything different. Because if their attitude was good towards the coach during tough moments in practice, and their attitude was good to their teammates, and their effort was the best that they could have, then they had a good practice, even if they made a lot of mistakes. Where does the love come from? I took a bus to college that took 45 minutes. I had to walk a half a mile to the bus stop I did it for 2.5 years until I could scrape up some money for a car. The love of the game is internal, right? You either have it or you don't. And if the parents want it more than the kids, if they tell them, oh, you got to play in this, you got to play in that, and the kid doesn't want to play, there's a clear-cut sign that the player doesn't love what they do. We all had kids, or we all still have kids that are teenagers or young adults. They gravitate to what they love.
Right.
They gravitate. Look, my youngest who played soccer, she loved it. Get me up early, get me to practice, get me to conditioning. Sure, I'll do all that. I'll take you there if you're going to get up. But if you sleep late, I'm not going to wake you up and tell you to go to practice. That's your job. So we've got to have the parents put the onus on the kids, not just to want it, but be committed to it. And then the parents can be supportive to the commitment. That's how it works best.
Thank you.
Coach, I'm coaching my son right now. He was a freshman that played for me, and I agree on all accounts. I've actually picked Joe's brain a little bit over when we get together. It's been my greatest thing as a dad to watch him, and he works on his own. If he asks for some critique, I give it. I'll go out and rebound for him. But when we're at home, I'm trying to be dad, not coach. And I think that's where his love stayed at a high level this whole season. And I'm there as a sounding board. But as far as me coaching him at home, I watch film like Joe did. If he wants to come over and look over my shoulder and watch film and talk about some things. But I think that the love of the game comes from within. And I think we as adults kind of crush it sometimes when we add our pressures into it, like you were saying earlier. And then the last thing I'll say is I drop my son off at the park. No adults involved. He and his buddies just go play pickup. And that's also where the love comes from, because adults are out of the picture.
Yeah, let me jump in here real quick. You struck a nerve. First of all, what's your son's NIL package?
A free place to live.
Hey, I drop my daughter off and I go back and watch the last 10 minutes. How many parents do you see stay the whole practice? Why do parents stay the whole practice? Number one, coach doesn't want you there. We all know that. Number two, your kids don't want you at practice. Parents stay at practice for them. They want to see their kids play. And I understand that. That's why they go to the games. But we don't need parents standing there yelling during practice, certainly not yelling during games. No parent should ever coach their kid in practice or in a game. That's a big no-no, because you take the authority away from the coaches and you take the ability to grow up for their kids with coaches, right, to have a relationship. If you start trying to coach your kid or coach someone else during practice, and I'm going to say it again, inspire your children. And sometimes the best way to inspire our kids is through our actions, not our words. Encourage, absolutely, words of encouragement. I know you're tired today, but make sure you get to practice on time. That's good parenting, right? That's good parenting. Encourage, support, inspire, love, be there when they lose, and when they win, try to keep their humility in check. Again, we're trying to raise 5-star kids, not 5-star athletes. That's not our job, I don't believe.
Great advice.
I think it's up to the coaches and all the circle of people you have. You have a strength and conditioning coach, you have a trainer, nutritionalist, whatever you hire or have as the circle around your son or daughter. Those are the people that help your child become the best athlete they can become. Not you. You play a role as a parent, but you're not their coach. You're not their trainer. You're not their strength and conditioning person. That's not I don't believe that's our job. Unless, Alan, like in your case, your son's on the team. That's a little different.
Well, all of us who have children that are over the age of 20 know that between the ages of 13 and 18, we're the dumbest human beings they've ever met anyway. So I don't know why
you can go past 18. You can go up to 28.
Right.
Hey, Joe, real quick, what did you do with your son as he got older? When he's younger, it's a little easier, but as he got older?
As he got older, I just stayed out of the way completely. He was way beyond my skill level. You talk about you played Division III. I was a walk-on for a JV team at a Division II school, so my skill set wasn't very good. And I would find myself sitting in the stands or watching practice at Virginia and not saying a word just because I loved seeing him in his element, or I loved watching my daughter play volleyball or basketball. And parents would ask me, how come you are not into this game? I go, because I'm a dad and I'm here as a dad first. And, if they would come and, still complain about their coaches or the players or the officials, you hit it right on the head. It's like, okay, what's your attitude? You got to sell that first. Were you a great teammate today? Then just leave it at that and we'll move forward and tomorrow is better.
Yeah, and parents, I mean, I can talk to parents all night. Don't officiate the game. Don't complain
Yeah.
about the officials. If you complain about the officials, your kids are going to complain. Now we got complainers, and we don't teach kids to complain, right? We tell all our kids, don't make any excuses. The coach will handle the officials. When you're at a game, I think the greatest thing you can do is support your own child and his team. When I would go to soccer games, I would almost not cheer for the other team, but if I saw somebody make a really good play, I would say, "Hey, number 10, that was a great save." Or
Yeah,
number
that's a great
4,
play.
no,
Yeah.
number 4, boy, that great hustle. I don't want them to win, but I want to acknowledge a really good play or a really good hustle play.
Yeah.
And I think as parents, we could be the example.
Yeah,
Amen.
definitely.
How,
Dave, have you got a question?
yes, I was wondering, like, I agree with everything you're saying 100%. I'm just trying to figure out, knowing the parents that I used to have when I coached, how do you get them? How do you teach them without antagonizing them in the community? Is there a way?
I think it's like anything else. It's like for high school coaches, I'm going to say the same thing. You first thing you have to do as a high school coach with your players is you have to care about them more than ever. And that means you got to spend time, just like you care about your own family. And
Right.
then you got to connect with them. You got to connect on their level. The players now I'm talking about. The electronic level, the technology level, social media level. You've got to connect. And then communication with the coach and the player. That doesn't mean what we all thought it meant. Communication doesn't mean you talk and everybody else listens. Communication means you ask some hard questions, you listen to the answers, and you develop a plan for your players. And then you hold your players accountable to that plan once
Right.
that plan's been established. Now, for the parents, I just think it's a meeting, Dave. I think you meet with them as a group, and they all hear the same thing. Number one, you can't be afraid to hold kids and players to your standard. That's it. You don't have to be, a hard ass, but you
Right.
have your standards and you want to hold them accountable to those standards and then meet with each parent individually. You do it one time before the season. You meet as a group. This is how I run my program. This is my expectation for your kids. These are my goals for your kids. This is my expectations for you guys as parents. And because we're all adults, we all work for a living. We understand as coaches that your kids are the most important thing in the world to you.
Right.
We're gonna be demanding. We're not going to be demeaning. We're going to talk to them and not at them. We'll be more instructional than critical. But we're going to yell at times, depending upon the demeanor of the coach. Every coach has a different way of, coaching and teaching.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you have to express that in a group meeting and an individual meeting. And so everybody has a clear expectation and understanding of how you're going to coach their kid. I think that's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great
And you assure the parents that at no point during the year are you going to show up at their office, their place of work, and critique them and tell them how to do their job better.
Right. Exactly. No, you hit it on the head. Look, if there's an emotional problem, if there's something going on at home I need to know about, if there's something in the classroom, it's funny. In all my years that I coached, I don't remember a parent coming up to me and saying, "Gee, I'm really concerned about my son's C in this particular classroom." It was always how much playing time can he start. It was all basketball related. Even when I was coaching, and I haven't coached in about 15, 18 years. So parents have to understand what their true job is. Like I think Joe said it best, get out of the way. But
Mhm.
today's parent has more access to the internet, social media. And I'm going to give you the best advice before I have to get off. This is for every kid, every parent, every coach, and for myself. The one game they should never play is the comparison game. That's the biggest single problem I see in grassroots basketball. And I'm sure it's universal. I'm sure it's in other sports. I'm sure it's just in that 13, Greg, as you said, to 18-year-old age range, the comparison game. It's one game that's never ending. You can never win. And it's a recipe for unhappiness. There's no way to grow as a person and as an athlete if you're comparing yourself to somebody else, whether it's what sneakers they're wearing, what AAU team they play on, did they get a scholarship offer or didn't they? All those things don't matter. What matters is what you put into yourself and who you surround yourself with. That's so much more important than constantly looking around what other people are doing, other people are getting. And even if you're getting more than someone else, that's going to make you feel like you're better than someone else, and you can lose your humility by saying, well, I got a Division I offer, and I wear all these sneakers, and I got an NIL offer. That's the quickest way to lose your humility, is by thinking that you have too much. So don't play the comparison game, and I think you'll be way better off in the long run. I think you'll get a chance to go, to follow your path. And I will say there's a home for everyone if the kid wants it bad enough.
Right.
Excellent. Really great insight, great advice, Paul. Dave, I'm gonna let you wrap us up, or any closing thoughts?
It's just amazing. I had expectations, and you've blown by those. I think this is great information that we can use as coaches, and we can get this as part of our Educate to Navigate that we'll be going nationally with. So I can't thank you enough. This is really good stuff.
Great job, Paul.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Great
We truly
stuff.
appreciate it, Paul, and all you guys. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you
Coach.
guys for
Thanks,
joining.
Coach. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you guys. And listen, let's do it again. Let's not just be a one-time off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate your time.